I never knew fear before that day. I had studied it, measured it, and observed it in other species, especially humans. Fear was something we cataloged in reports and simulations. It was a reaction, a weakness, a chemical storm in the brain. I thought I understood it. I was wrong. I truly felt terror for the first time when I fought alongside humanity. My species, the Volari, are old and careful. We are tall, pale beings with slow hearts and calm minds. We built our civilization on logic and patience. War, to us, is a calculated process. We plan for decades, sometimes centuries. We avoid close combat. We prefer drones, distance, and certainty. Emotion is considered dangerous because it clouds judgment. That belief had kept us alive for thousands of years. Humans were different from the moment we met them. They were young, loud, and emotional. Their signals were chaotic, their politics unstable, and their art confusing. Yet they advanced fast, too fast. They burned through ideas the way stars burn through fuel. Many in the Volari Council feared them. Others dismissed them as reckless children who would destroy themselves before becoming a real threat. Then the Kar Dominion arrived. The Kar were not interested in diplomacy. They were a conquering species, built for war. Their bodies were armored, their minds linked in a hive of command and obedience. They had crushed dozens of civilizations. When they entered this sector, they moved with terrifying speed. One by one, worlds fell silent. The Volari debated. We always debate. Should we hide? Should we negotiate? Should we sacrifice a border system to buy time? While we argued, the Kar fleet turned its attention toward Earth. Humans did not debate for long. They sent a single message across all open channels: we will not surrender. It was not strategic, it was not wise, it was very human. The Kar attacked Earth with overwhelming force. Humanity called for help, not with begging words, but with coordinates, battle plans, and an open invitation: fight with us. The Volari Council was divided. Joining humans meant exposing ourselves to a war we might not win. Staying neutral might mean surviving longer, but alone. In the end, a small decision was made: a limited alliance. Observers and tactical support only. No ground combat, no unnecessary risks. I was assigned as a tactical liaison. My role was to advise, analyze, and report. I was not supposed to fight. That was the plan. When I arrived in the human system, the first thing that shocked me was the noise. Human ships were not silent like ours. They vibrated with engines pushed beyond safe limits. Human voices filled the channels, overlapping, shouting orders, jokes, prayers, and curses all at once. It felt like standing inside a storm. The first battle was in orbit around a mining colony. The Kar fleet arrived in perfect formation. Their ships were identical, moving like parts of a single machine. It was beautiful in a cold way. Human ships broke formation immediately. They charged. I remember thinking it was madness. They rushed forward, firing everything they had. Some ships were destroyed in seconds. Others rammed directly into Kar vessels, detonating themselves to break the enemy line. I watched in horror. These were not drones. These were crewed ships, living beings choosing to die to slow the enemy. My hands trembled. That had never happened to me before. I tried to advise caution, to suggest retreat vectors and defensive patterns. Some human commanders listened. Others simply said, "Not today," and kept fighting. Against all logic, it worked. The Kar advance slowed. Their formation broke. Confusion spread through their hive mind as human unpredictability shattered their perfect calculations. The battle was costly, but the colony survived. After the fight, I expected despair, grief, collapse. Instead, humans gathered the survivors, counted the dead, and prepared for the next battle. They mourned, yes, but quickly. Pain was real, but it did not stop them. It seemed to fuel them. I did not understand that. As the war spread, Volari involvement deepened. Human losses were immense, but they kept fighting.
Every planet became a fortress, every civilian a worker for the war effort. Artists painted murals on bunker walls, musicians played in shelters during bombardments, children learned evacuation drills the way others learned games. Then came the ground war. A car force landed on a human agricultural world. The Volari fleet was delayed. Humans asked for immediate support. There were not enough drones available. Someone made a decision that changed everything. They asked Volari personnel to fight on the ground. I protested. Ground combat was not my training. I was a strategist, not a soldier. Fear tightened in my chest, unfamiliar and suffocating. But the human officer only looked at me and said, "If they take this world, millions starve. We stand together or we fall alone." So I went. The planet's sky was dark with smoke, fields burned. Car walkers moved across the land like metal beasts. Human soldiers fought from trenches, ruins, and forests. Their weapons were crude compared to ours, but effective. They adapted constantly, modifying tactics in minutes that would take us months to approve. When the car advanced toward a refugee convoy, everything changed. I was with a small human unit. The ground shook as car soldiers approached, their weapons glowing. My training screamed at me to retreat, to find cover, to calculate odds. The humans did not retreat. They stood between the car and the civilians. I felt terror then, true terror. Not fear for myself alone, but for them, for these fragile, emotional beings who knew they were outmatched and chose to stand anyway. My vision blurred, my breathing became shallow. Every instinct told me we were about to die. A human soldier next to me noticed my shaking. He laughed softly and said, "First time being scared?" I could not answer. He tightened his grip on his weapon and added, "Good, means you're alive. Stick close." When the car attacked, the world exploded into chaos. Energy fire tore through the air. The ground erupted. Screams, commands, and explosions merged into a single overwhelming sound. I froze for a fraction of a second. Then a human fell in front of me, struck by enemy fire. Something broke inside me. Without thinking, I moved. I dragged the wounded soldier behind cover. I fired my weapon, not with calculation, but with desperation. I screamed, a sound I did not recognize as my own. We fought like that for what felt like hours, but was only minutes. Humans flanked, improvised, sacrificed, and endured. When the smoke cleared, the car force was gone. The refugee convoy escaped. I collapsed. My body shook uncontrollably. Tears streamed down my face. Another first. Humans sat beside me, exhausted, wounded, some crying openly, others silent. No one mocked me. No one questioned my weakness. They simply accepted it. That night, as fires burned on the horizon, a human medic handed me water. She said, "You did good today." I did not feel good. I felt broken, terrified, changed. In the weeks that followed, I fought more battles. Each one filled me with fear, and each time I fought anyway. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear. Humans knew that. They lived it. The war turned. Human strategies, once seen as reckless, became studied and copied. Their willingness to take risks forced the car into mistakes. Their emotional bonds created units that would not break, even under impossible pressure. Their stories spread across allied worlds, inspiring others to resist. The Volari Council finally committed fully, not because of numbers or probability, but because they saw something new, a force not based on logic alone, but on shared terror, shared hope, and shared defiance. The final battle was brutal. The car heave command was destroyed above Earth. When it ended, human ships drifted, damaged and burning, but still transmitting signals, songs, cheers, names of the dead spoken aloud so they would not be forgotten. I stood on a human ship, looking at the stars, feeling fear even then. Fear of what we had lost, fear of what humanity might become, but also respect. I understand terror now. It is not just weakness, it is the knowledge of loss, of pain, of death. Humans feel it deeply, and yet they move forward anyway. They fight alongside it, not despite it. That is why the galaxy should never underestimate humanity. I felt terror for the first time fighting alongside them, and I would do it again.